Hello dear friends, welcome back to Sleep and Learn English. My name is Mary, and tonight we will enjoy 8 long and relaxing stories designed for C1 level learners. Each story will help you practice complex sentences, passive voice, and advanced modals. Relax, breathe slowly, and let the calm atmosphere guide you as you listen, learn, and gently improve your English. Tonight's stories are all different, taking you on adventures, mysteries, quiet reflections, and intriguing discoveries. Get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let us begin our journey together. It was a quiet evening, and I, Mary, had just finished preparing a cup of herbal tea. I sat by the window, noticing the soft rain falling outside, the streets wet and shiny under the warm glow of streetlights. A sudden sound of the mailbox opening caught my attention, and I saw a small envelope that had been slipped in quietly. The envelope had no sender, only my name written carefully on the front. I thought, if this letter contains important news, I must read it carefully and calmly. Slowly, I opened the envelope and found a folded piece of paper, the handwriting elegant and precise. The letter began, "Dear Mary, if you are reading this, it means that the secret has finally reached you." I was surprised. The words seemed mysterious, almost as if they were written to guide me into a quiet adventure. I read further, "Every decision you make tonight will influence the events that have been hidden for years." I thought, if this is true, I must proceed carefully and observe everything around me. I put on my coat and took an umbrella, walking slowly through the rainy streets. The letter had instructed me to visit the old library on Elm Street, where a small key had been left in a hidden corner. I thought, if the key is real and the instructions are correct, a secret will be revealed to me. As I arrived, the library doors were quiet, the lights soft and welcoming. I noticed the key tucked under a book titled Ancient Mysteries. Carefully placed, I picked it up slowly, feeling the weight of curiosity and gentle anticipation. The letter continued, "Once you have found the key, look for the book that has been left untouched for months. Inside the book, you will discover information that must be kept calm and private." I walked slowly through the aisles, noticing the smell of old pages, the soft whisper of the rain against the windows. I found a book with no title on the spine, as instructed, and carefully opened it. Inside, a folded map was hidden, and notes written in a fine, delicate hand. I thought, if I follow this map calmly, I will uncover a long-forgotten secret. As I traced the directions, I realized that the path led to a quiet garden behind the library. The garden was overgrown but peaceful. And I noticed a small locked box partially hidden among the flowers. The key fit perfectly, and slowly I turned it, opening the box with care. Inside, a series of letters and photographs had been carefully preserved, each one telling a part of a story that had remained hidden for decades. I read each letter slowly, understanding the complex connections, the relationships, and the events that had been quietly kept from the public. I realized, if these secrets were revealed too quickly, they could cause confusion or unrest. The careful preservation had ensured that the knowledge was available only to those who approached it with patience and thoughtfulness. I spent hours examining the contents, taking notes, reflecting on the meaning and implications of each document. The rain continued outside, and I felt a gentle calmness. Even as the complexity of the story became clear, I thought, if I act wisely, the information will be shared responsibly, and the lessons learned will benefit many. After a long evening of quiet discovery, I placed everything carefully back into the box. I thought, if I leave it undisturbed until the right moment, the secret will remain protected. I walked home slowly, the soft rain creating reflections on the streets. I realized that patience, careful observation, and calm reflection were the keys not only to understanding the secret but also to understanding life itself. Back at home, I wrote down my reflections in my notebook. Each thought slow, deliberate, and precise. I drank my tea, feeling a sense of quiet satisfaction and anticipation for the days to come. I thought, if I sleep now, my mind will absorb the complexity, the secrets, and the lessons of tonight. Everything discovered will remain gently in my thoughts, helping me grow, reflect, and learn naturally. And tonight, like every quiet evening, I will drift into sleep with a calm mind, ready for whatever comes next. It was late in the evening, the sky painted with deep shades of indigo and soft purples. I, Mary, had just finished reading a book by the fireplace, the warmth of the flames creating a calm atmosphere in the quiet apartment. Suddenly, I remembered an old key I had found in the attic weeks ago, a key that had no label, no explanation, only its cold metallic weight in my hand. I thought, if I explore the attic one more time, Perhaps I will find the lock that matches this key. Carefully, I stood up, taking a lantern with me to light the way, the soft glow illuminating the wooden floor and the shadows dancing along the walls. As I climbed the narrow stairs to the attic, I noticed old trunks, dusty books, and forgotten furniture. The key felt heavier in my hand, as if it knew the secrets it was meant to reveal. I thought, if I approach slowly and observe everything, I might discover something extraordinary. I walked past an old bookshelf, noticing a small gap between the boards. It was barely visible. Yet somehow it seemed deliberate, as if it had been waiting for me to notice. I inserted the key into a hidden lock within the gap, turning it gently. The sound of a soft click echoed through the quiet attic. A small door swung open, revealing a dimly lit room, untouched for decades. The air smelled faintly of old paper and wood polish, a scent that seemed to carry stories of the past. I stepped inside slowly, the lantern light revealing shelves filled with boxes, jars, and handwritten notes. I realized, if someone had left this room undisturbed, it must contain information that is private and valuable. I carefully examined the contents, noticing letters tied with ribbons, maps folded precisely, and photographs depicting moments I had never seen before. I thought, if I handle everything gently and respectfully, I can understand the story without disturbing its delicate history. One box contained documents about a family long forgotten, connections between distant relatives, and events that had shaped the lives of many quietly. I read slowly, absorbing each detail, the relationships, the small conflicts, and the acts of kindness that had been hidden for generations. Another box revealed maps of the city as it was a century ago, markings indicating secret passages, and small notes explaining their uses. I thought, if I follow these instructions carefully, I could uncover paths that very few people have seen. As I explored further, I found a small journal, its cover worn but intact. The entries described a person who had lived quietly, observing the world, helping people without being noticed. I thought, if I read these words slowly, I can understand not only their life but also the wisdom they wanted to pass on. Each page was filled with reflections, gentle advice, and careful observations about human behavior, the importance of patience, and the art of calm decision-making. I noticed a hidden drawer under a shelf, which contained a small, locked chest. The key I had used to open the hidden door fit perfectly into this chest. I turned it slowly, feeling a surge of curiosity and cautious excitement. Inside, there were letters sealed with wax, a photograph of a place I recognized from the old maps, and a note that read, "Only those who seek with care and calmness will understand." I sat on the dusty floor, reading each letter slowly, reflecting on their meaning. The letters described stories of courage, quiet rebellion, acts of generosity, and secrets that had shaped the lives of people I would never meet. I thought, if these letters were revealed recklessly, they could cause confusion or even harm. The careful preservation ensured that only someone attentive, patient, and thoughtful could learn from them. Hours passed as I explored the hidden room, each discovery more fascinating than the last. I realized, if I continue to approach this space with respect, I will not only uncover secrets but also gain insight into human nature and the importance of careful observation. The rain outside began softly, its rhythmic sound creating a serene background to my thoughts. I wrote down reflections in my notebook, documenting everything slowly, noting connections between letters, maps, and photographs. I thought, if I continue this practice regularly, my understanding of patience, reflection, and careful learning will grow steadily. As midnight approached, I carefully returned everything to its place. Closing the small chest and the hidden door, I thought, if I leave it untouched until the right moment, the knowledge will remain protected and meaningful. I descended the attic stairs slowly, the lantern light fading into the dim hallway. The quiet apartment embraced me once more, the warmth of the fireplace a comforting reminder that discovery does not need to be rushed. Before going to bed, I reflected on the hidden room, the letters, the photographs, and the lessons they carried. I realized, if I approach every day with the same care and mindfulness, every experience, no matter how small, can teach me something valuable. I drank a cup of tea, feeling calm, thoughtful, and gently tired. I thought, if I sleep now, my mind will absorb all the discoveries, insights, and lessons from tonight, and tonight, like every night, I will drift into sleep with a calm heart, ready for tomorrow's quiet adventures. It was a quiet evening, the sky painted with deep shades of navy and silver. I, Mary, had just finished arranging my small study. the soft lamplight casting gentle shadows on the walls. The room smelled faintly of old books and lavender, creating a calm, reflective atmosphere. I noticed a small, dusty trunk that had been tucked away in the corner for years. I thought, if I open it slowly, perhaps I will discover something that has been hidden for a very long time. Carefully, I lifted the lid, revealing stacks of old papers, letters tied with fraying ribbons, and a small, leather-bound diary. The diary looked untouched for decades, its cover cracked, its pages yellowed with time. I thought, if I read it gently, I might uncover stories and secrets that were never meant to be forgotten. I settled into my armchair, holding the diary carefully, and began to turn the first page slowly. The handwriting was delicate and precise, telling the story of a young woman who had lived in the city long before I was born. Her words described ordinary days with extraordinary attention to detail, the sounds of the streets, the scents of bakeries, the laughter of children in the parks. I thought, if I read each word slowly, I can experience her world as she experienced it. She wrote about friendships that had been tested, small acts of courage, and quiet moments of joy. As I continued, I discovered references to a mysterious location in the city, a place that had been important to her and hidden from most people. I thought, if I follow her descriptions carefully, I may find this forgotten place. The diary described narrow alleyways, hidden gardens, and doors that led to quiet rooms filled with old treasures. Each sentence was long, flowing, full of detail, revealing not just actions but feelings, thoughts, and reflections. Hours passed as I read, my mind slowly absorbing the rhythm of her life, the emotions, the connections, and the subtle lessons she embedded within her words. I thought, if I take the time to reflect on each story, each memory, I can understand not only her life but also the principles she lived by. Patience, careful observation, empathy, and gentle curiosity were repeated throughout, woven into descriptions of people, places, and events. The diary mentioned a particular evening when she had discovered a small, hidden room in her apartment building, filled with objects left behind by previous tenants. Letters, photographs, and journals were preserved there, telling stories of lives that had been quietly lived and sometimes quietly lost. I thought, if she was able to learn from these discoveries, I can too. I began to map the locations described in the diary, tracing her steps mentally, imagining the quiet streets, the soft glow of lamps, the distant laughter carried on the wind. Some pages described moments of moral dilemmas, choices that could have led to unintended consequences if acted upon hastily. I thought, if I consider these carefully, I will learn the importance of reflection and mindful decision-making. She wrote about helping strangers discreetly, resolving conflicts gently, and making observations about human behavior with subtlety and care. The diary contained drawings, maps, and lists, each one telling a part of the story, each detail adding depth to her world. I realized, if these small details are observed with patience, they reveal a richness that could easily be missed by a hurried mind. I spent hours reading slowly, noting the patterns, the repeated lessons, the quiet triumphs, and the subtle regrets. I thought, if I continue this practice nightly, I will grow in understanding, empathy, and careful reasoning. Near the end of the diary, she wrote about a secret she had kept for decades, a letter that had never been sent, a message to someone she had loved but had never reached. The letter described hopes, fears, and reflections, and I thought, if this message had been revealed too soon, it could have caused misunderstanding or sorrow. Yet, reading it now, I felt the depth of her wisdom and the gentle calm with which she had approached her life. I realized, if I learn from her approach, I can navigate my own life with similar patience and mindfulness. I carefully returned the diary to the trunk, leaving it as I had found it. I thought, if I preserve its stories gently, they will remain meaningful and undisturbed. The night outside deepened, the city quiet, the occasional sound of distant rain adding a rhythm to my reflections. I drank a cup of warm herbal tea, the steam rising slowly, blending with the soft scent of the diary and the quiet room. I reflected on the life chronicled in those pages, the gentle wisdom, the careful observations, and the lessons hidden within ordinary moments. I thought, if I sleep now, my mind will integrate these lessons, these reflections, and this calm understanding into my consciousness, and tonight, as every night, I will drift into sleep slowly, gently, absorbing the stories, the secrets, and the wisdom of someone who lived thoughtfully, quietly, and with deep care. It was a calm afternoon, the sun casting warm golden light over the quiet streets. I, Mary, had decided to take a slow walk through the older part of the city, the cobblestone paths worn smooth by decades of footsteps. As I moved gently, I noticed a narrow alley partially hidden behind tall buildings. I thought, if I explore this passage slowly, perhaps I will discover something that has remained secret for a long time. The alley was overgrown with ivy and small wildflowers, their colors muted yet vibrant under the soft sunlight. At the end of the path, I found a small, rusted gate, almost invisible from the street. I carefully pushed it open, the hinges creaking softly, revealing a hidden garden tucked away from the noise of the city. The garden was a mix of wild beauty and careful planning, with winding paths, tall hedges, and small fountains. I thought, if I explore this place with attention, I will see its secrets and the stories it holds. I stepped slowly along the gravel paths, noticing flowers of unusual colors, herbs planted in precise rows, and trees with branches forming natural archways. A small wooden bench was placed under a blossoming cherry tree, and I sat down to observe the serenity of the space. Birds sang softly in the branches above, their melodies mingling with the gentle trickle of water from the fountains. I thought, if I breathe slowly and calmly, I can absorb the atmosphere, the lessons, and the quiet wisdom of this hidden place. As I walked further, I discovered a small stone statue partially covered with moss. Its features were worn, but it seemed to be watching over the garden with a gentle and protective presence. I thought, if this garden has been preserved carefully, it may contain messages from the past, hidden by someone who loved this space. Near the statue, a small wooden box was tucked under a bush, sealed with an old ribbon. I opened it slowly and found notes, drawings, and small mementos, each one telling a story of quiet discovery, patience, and observation. I spent hours wandering through the garden, reading each note, examining every drawing, and reflecting on the people who had created and tended this space. I realized, if I approach this garden with calm respect, I will understand its beauty, the history hidden in its corners, and the lessons left by previous visitors. I noticed paths that led to small hidden nooks, each one containing flowers, stones, or inscriptions carved into the wood. The inscriptions were brief but thoughtful, containing phrases like patience is the key, observe carefully, and listen to the quiet. Sitting on another bench under a willow tree, I reflected on the quiet moments I had witnessed, the delicate balance between nature and human care. I thought, if I can bring this mindfulness into my own life, every day will contain small treasures and lessons waiting to be discovered. I observed a small pond, the water clear and calm, reflecting the sky above. Fish moved slowly beneath the surface, ducks gliding gently, and I felt a profound sense of peace, understanding, and connection. As evening approached, the golden sunlight shifting to soft lavender tones, I noticed small lanterns placed carefully along the paths. They cast a warm, gentle light, illuminating flowers and shrubs with a soft glow. I thought, if I return here often, I can witness the changes of the garden through the seasons. Learning the quiet language of growth, decay, and renewal, I collected a few pressed flowers, carefully placing them in my notebook, documenting my observations. Each flower told a story, each scent carried memories of the past, each path held secrets waiting for those who observed attentively. I realized, if the garden had been created for reflection and calm, it has succeeded beautifully. Every detail, from the placement of stones to the alignment of the trees, carried intention and quiet care. I spent hours simply sitting, breathing slowly, and absorbing the gentle energy of the garden. I thought, if I continue to practice mindfulness in every space I visit, my understanding, patience, and inner calm will deepen steadily. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared, I walked back slowly toward the gate. I thought, if I leave this garden untouched, its hidden beauty will remain for the next visitor. I carried the calmness, reflection, and quiet joy of this hidden space with me as I returned home. Back in my apartment, I wrote down all my observations, my thoughts, and reflections in my notebook. I sipped a cup of warm tea, feeling the gentle satisfaction of discovery and understanding. I thought, if I sleep now, the lessons of the hidden garden will settle into my mind, nurturing patience, mindfulness, and appreciation for the quiet wonders around me. And tonight, like every night, I will drift into sleep slowly, gently, surrounded by calm, reflection, and the quiet whispers of the hidden garden. It was a quiet night, the sky covered with soft clouds illuminated by the silver glow of the moon. I, Mary, sat by my desk in the study, a warm lamp casting a gentle circle of light around me. The city outside was calm, the occasional distant sound of a passing car or a dog barking breaking the silence. I noticed an envelope on the corner of the desk, one that I had not seen before. It was sealed carefully, the handwriting elegant, the paper thick and slightly textured. I thought, if I open this letter slowly, I might uncover a story hidden for a long time. I broke the seal gently, unfolding the paper, the faint scent of lavender and old ink reaching my senses. The letter began. Dear Mary, if you are reading this, it means that the secret has reached you at the right moment. I paused, the words immediately filling me with curiosity and gentle anticipation. I thought, if I follow the instructions carefully, I will understand what has remained hidden in the shadows. The letter instructed me to gather a notebook, a candle, and a cup of warm tea, all of which I prepared slowly. It said, walk to the east-facing window, light the candle, and read the following letters. Aloud, I thought, if I do this calmly, I will experience the story fully and without disturbance. I carried the candle to the window, the soft flame flickering against the glass. The envelope contained several letters. Each one folded neatly, each one marked with a date and a location. I began to read the first letter slowly, the handwriting delicate, describing events that had happened many years ago. It told of a friendship that had been tested by misunderstandings, quiet bravery, and acts of kindness that were never acknowledged publicly. I thought, if I pay attention to each detail, I will see not only the events but also the emotions, intentions, and reflections hidden within. The letter continued with observations about the city, quiet streets, and hidden places that had played a role in shaping the lives of those involved. I moved on to the second letter, which described a mysterious visitor who appeared at odd times, leaving small gifts, messages, and notes. The letters were full of subtleties, observations about human behavior, and the careful planning of someone who wanted to remain unseen yet make a positive impact. I thought, if I consider the meaning behind each action, I can understand the gentle lessons and the hidden wisdom. As I read, the candlelight danced softly on the walls, and the moonlight mingled with the flame, creating an atmosphere of calm and quiet anticipation. The third letter revealed a secret meeting place, a small room above an old shop that had been closed for decades. Inside, letters, photographs, and journals had been preserved meticulously, waiting for someone patient and thoughtful to discover them. I thought, if I follow these instructions carefully, I will witness the culmination of events that had been quietly unfolding for years. I made notes in my notebook, drawing maps, copying phrases, and reflecting on the significance of each observation. Hours passed as I continued reading each letter, my mind absorbing the intricate details, the subtle connections, and the quiet emotional layers. I thought, if I remain calm and deliberate, I can fully understand the depth of the stories, the challenges faced, and the lessons learned by those who wrote these letters. The letters spoke of courage, patience, empathy, and careful decision-making, often hidden behind ordinary actions and everyday choices. I realized, if someone reads these letters without mindfulness, the meaning could be lost, yet in careful hands, they are treasures of wisdom. As midnight deepened, the final letter instructed me to reflect quietly on all I had learned. It said, keep the knowledge with care, let the stories guide your understanding, and let your heart remain calm. I thought, if I internalize these lessons, I will carry the essence of patience, observation, and thoughtful reflection into my own life. I carefully placed the letters back in the envelope, leaving them neatly on the desk. The candle flickered softly as I sipped my tea, feeling a profound sense of calm, insight, and gentle satisfaction. I looked out the window at the quiet city streets, the soft moonlight illuminating rooftops and trees. I realized, if I approach each day with the same care and patience as the authors of these letters, my understanding of people, places, and moments will deepen steadily. I thought, if I sleep now, the wisdom, reflections, and subtle lessons of the midnight letters will settle into my mind, and tonight, like every night, I will drift into sleep slowly, gently, with a calm heart and an attentive mind, ready to embrace the lessons of tomorrow. It was a soft evening, the sky painted in shades of deep blue and gentle violet. I, Mary, walked slowly through the quiet streets of the old district, the cobblestones smooth under my careful steps. The city had settled into calm, the occasional distant sound of a carriage or footsteps echoing softly in the twilight. I thought, if I move slowly and observe carefully, I will notice details often missed by hurried eyes. As I passed a small cafe with warm light spilling onto the pavement, I noticed a figure sitting alone by the window. The man seemed absorbed in thought, watching people pass. his expression calm and attentive. I thought, if I approach this observation with patience, I can understand not only his actions but also the rhythm of the evening around him. I continued my walk, noticing how the trees swayed gently in the breeze, the soft rustling of leaves blending with distant laughter from children playing. The silent observer continued to watch, noting each movement, each small interaction, as if cataloguing life with careful attention. I thought, if I mirror his calm approach, I will gain insight into human behavior, subtle gestures, and the unspoken connections between people. I noticed a stray cat moving quietly along the alley, its tail flicking, pausing occasionally to observe a pigeon or a shadow. The observer smiled faintly at the cat, and I realized, if we pay attention to the smallest details, every life holds meaning and stories waiting to be understood. I found a quiet bench beneath a large oak tree, its branches stretching high above. Sitting down slowly, I opened my notebook, intending to record every observation, every gentle detail, every emotion conveyed silently through gestures and glances. I thought, if I take my time, I will notice connections that are invisible to those who rush. The evening deepened, the city lights reflected softly on the cobblestones, creating patterns that seemed almost magical. The silent observer began to walk slowly along the path, noticing flowers, small hidden gardens, and signs of life carefully tended by unseen hands. I thought, if I follow his path attentively, I will uncover the layers of care, intention, and quiet artistry present in this old district. A group of children played quietly in a square, their laughter soft, their movements careful and measured. The observer watched them with gentle attention, noting patterns, the interactions, the small acts of kindness and understanding. I spent hours observing with him, recording each nuance, reflecting on the subtle lessons embedded in everyday life. I thought, if I learn to see without judgment and without rushing, I can appreciate the depth, complexity, and beauty of ordinary moments. We passed by a small fountain, water trickling gently over mossy stones, birds perched nearby, singing soft melodies, and the observer paused to watch a small insect move carefully along the stone edge. I realized, if we take the time to notice, every action, every living being, and every interaction carries meaning. The observer shared no words, yet his presence taught me more than any conversation could. We walked past an old bookstore, the window display filled with yellowed pages, the scent of paper and ink drifting into the evening air. I thought, if I enter slowly and with respect, the books will reveal not only stories but also the quiet history of those who handled them before me. We stopped beneath a small balcony adorned with trailing vines and flowers. The observer pointed gently at a note pinned to the railing, almost invisible, written by someone long forgotten. It contained reflections about life, patience, and observation, advice to notice the world without haste. I thought, if I absorb these words slowly, they will guide me to a deeper understanding of mindfulness, reflection, and gentle learning. Hours passed as the moon rose high, casting silver light over rooftops, trees, and quiet streets. I realized, if we approach life with attentive care, we can see beauty, connection, and meaning in places others overlook. We walked toward a small hidden garden, its gate almost invisible, its paths overgrown yet inviting. Inside, we discovered benches, fountains, flowers, and inscriptions carved long ago by hands that had cared for this secret space. The silent observer paused, allowing me to absorb every detail, every scent, every sound. I thought, if I take my time, I can learn not only about the physical space but also about the people who inhabited it, their intentions, and their love for the world around them. I sat on a bench beneath a flowering tree, closing my eyes briefly, breathing slowly, feeling the calm, quiet energy of the garden infuse me. I realized, if I practice this daily, my understanding of patience, observation, and mindfulness will deepen profoundly. As the night grew late, we walked back slowly toward the city streets. I thought, if I preserve these observations carefully, the lessons, stories, and reflections will remain with me forever. The observer smiled faintly, as if acknowledging my understanding and the time spent learning silently. I returned home, feeling calm, thoughtful, and gently tired, carrying the quiet wisdom of the evening in my heart. I thought, if I sleep now, the observations, reflections, and lessons of the silent observer will settle into my mind, and tonight, like every night, I will drift into sleep slowly, gently, surrounded by calm, awareness, and the soft whispers of life waiting to be noticed. It was a cool evening, the wind carrying the salty scent of the sea. I, Mary, had decided to visit the old lighthouse perched on the cliff overlooking the ocean. The sky was painted in shades of deep indigo, and the last rays of the sun shimmered across the water. I thought, if I approach the lighthouse slowly and carefully, I might uncover the secrets it has kept hidden for many years. The lighthouse had been abandoned for decades, its paint peeling, windows dusty, and the iron railing slightly rusted, yet there was a quiet majesty about it, a sense that it had witnessed countless storms, countless sunrises, and countless nights. I walked along the rocky path leading to the entrance. Each step measured, careful not to disturb the soft moss and stones beneath. I thought, if I move gently, I will notice details that have been preserved by time and weather. As I reached the heavy wooden door, I noticed carvings, initials, and symbols etched into the surface. They spoke of sailors, families, and perhaps of secrets passed from generation to generation. I thought, if I examine each mark slowly, I may understand the stories embedded in the wood. The door creaked softly as I pushed it open, revealing a spiral staircase leading upward, dust motes floating in the lamplight. I began to climb, each step echoing softly, feeling the quiet anticipation of discovery. The lighthouse walls were lined with old photographs, maps, and journals, all preserved in careful disorder. I thought, if I read these items slowly, I will see not only the history of the lighthouse but also the lives of those who tended it. Some photographs showed stormy nights, ships struggling against waves, lighthouse keepers working tirelessly. The journals contained reflections, observations, and occasionally, mysterious notes that hinted at hidden rooms or secret compartments. Reaching the top, I stepped onto the balcony, the ocean stretching endlessly before me. The waves crashed gently against the rocks below, seagulls circling silently in the fading light. I thought, if I take a deep breath and observe slowly, I will understand the rhythm, the patience, and the quiet vigilance required to guard the sea. A small box rested near the railing, sealed and dusty, almost invisible. I opened it carefully and discovered letters, maps, and objects that hinted at a hidden treasure, a secret message, and a story long forgotten. The letters told of a lighthouse keeper who had once discovered a hidden cove, filled with rare shells, old coins, and messages from travelers. I thought, if I follow the clues in the letters, I may uncover the paths they described, the quiet hidden corners of the cliff, and the stories waiting to be remembered. I traced each map with my fingers, imagining the paths, the rocks, the hidden caves, and the small alcoves where the treasure might be kept. Hours passed as I explored, my mind slowly absorbing the details, the maps, the letters, and the atmosphere of the lighthouse. I realized, if I take the time to observe and reflect, the mystery will unfold gently, each layer revealing careful planning, patience, and subtlety. I noticed small notes left by previous visitors, reminders of the delicate balance between discovery and preservation. I thought, if I act with respect and calm, the secrets of the lighthouse will remain meaningful and undisturbed. The night grew darker, the moon reflecting on the gentle waves, creating silver streaks across the ocean. I sat on the balcony, the wind softly brushing my face, the faint sound of distant waves providing a calming rhythm. I thought, if I remain here quietly, I can absorb not only the mystery but also the lessons of vigilance, patience, and quiet reflection. The letters, maps, photographs, and journals had revealed a world of observation, careful planning, and gentle exploration. I realized, if I integrate these lessons into my own life, my awareness, mindfulness, and understanding will deepen steadily. As the lighthouse light swept across the ocean, slowly rotating, I felt a sense of connection with those who had watched over the sea before me. I thought, if I sleep now, the calm, the mystery, and the subtle wisdom of the lighthouse will settle into my mind, and tonight, like every night, I will drift into sleep slowly, gently, carrying the secrets, reflections, and lessons of the lighthouse with me. It was a quiet night, the city streets glowing softly under the dim light of old lanterns. I, Mary, had received a mysterious note earlier that day, its paper thick and slightly textured, the handwriting elegant yet unfamiliar. The note instructed me to visit an old mansion at the edge of the town, a place long abandoned yet rumored to hold secrets. I thought, if I approach this mansion slowly and carefully, I might uncover stories that have been hidden for generations. The mansion stood tall and imposing, ivy crawling along the walls, windows dusty and opaque. I walked along the stone path leading to the grand entrance, the crunch of my shoes on the gravel blending with the gentle rustle of the wind through the trees. I thought, if I pay attention to every detail, I will see the history preserved in the architecture, the plants, and the air itself. The heavy wooden door creaked softly as I pushed it open, revealing a vast hallway lined with portraits, each depicting a figure staring silently, their eyes following every movement. I thought, if I walk slowly and observe carefully, I will understand the stories of those who had lived here, their lives, their triumphs, and their quiet sorrows, dust-covered. The floor in gentle patterns, sunlight filtering through cracks in the curtains, creating shapes that danced slowly across the walls. I moved deeper into the mansion, noticing the small details. The faded wallpaper, the intricate carvings on the banisters, and the scent of aged wood and old paper. I thought, if I take my time, I will see not only the physical space but also the essence of the people who had created and lived in it. Suddenly, I discovered a narrow staircase hidden behind a tall bookshelf, its steps worn but intact, leading downward into darkness. I lit my lantern, the soft glow revealing walls lined with ancient books, artifacts, and mysterious symbols etched carefully into the stone. I thought, if I descend slowly, I will find the forgotten chamber and uncover the secrets it has kept hidden. As I reached the bottom, I noticed a heavy stone door, its surface covered with carvings depicting time, memory, and quiet reflection. I pushed the door open gently, the hinges groaning softly, revealing a chamber unlike anything I had ever seen. The room was circular, lined with shelves of old tomes, jars filled with herbs and powders, and objects whose purpose was unclear yet fascinating. I thought, if I explore each corner with attention, I will discover the wisdom, care, and knowledge left by someone who understood patience and observation. In the center of the room, a large table held a collection of letters, journals, and sketches, carefully arranged as if waiting for a visitor. I picked up the first journal, its pages delicate yet filled with precise observations, reflections on human nature, and instructions for quiet living. I thought, if I read slowly, I will absorb not only the words but also the energy and intent behind them. The letters spoke of forgotten events, hidden connections between people, and moments of insight that were quietly transformative. Hours passed as I read, examined artifacts, and reflected on the lessons embedded in the chamber. I thought, if I take my time and remain calm, I will understand the depth, complexity, and subtlety of the knowledge preserved here. I noticed a small chest tucked under a shelf, its lock intricate but not impossible to open. Inside, I discovered personal items, objects that once belonged to the author of the chamber, each telling a story of care, patience, and quiet observation. I realized, if I appreciate each object, each note, each subtle detail, I will understand the essence of the chamber, its purpose, and the lessons it holds for those who visit. The room was alive with history, intention, and gentle wisdom, a place where time seemed to pause, inviting reflection, mindfulness, and calm. I sat on a low bench, drinking in the atmosphere, breathing slowly, feeling the quiet energy of the chamber infuse my mind and heart. I thought, if I remain here a little longer, I will integrate the lessons of patience, reflection, and observation into my own life. The lantern flickered softly as the night deepened, shadows playing across walls lined with knowledge and memory. I reflected on the people who had created this chamber, their care in preserving each detail, their intent to teach without speaking aloud. I thought, if I honor their work, the wisdom, stories, and insights will continue to live on through my understanding. I carefully documented my observations in my notebook, sketching symbols, copying phrases, and reflecting on the meaning of each discovery. As dawn approached, the first soft rays of sunlight filtering through cracks in the stone walls, I prepared to leave. I thought, if I exit slowly, the chamber will remain untouched, its secrets preserved for the next careful observer. I carried the calm, reflection, and quiet joy of discovery with me as I walked back up the narrow staircase, through the mansion, and onto the soft morning street. I thought, if I sleep now, the lessons of the forgotten chamber, its reflections, and its subtle wisdom will settle deeply into my mind, and tonight, like every night, I will drift into sleep slowly, gently, surrounded by calm, insight, and the quiet whispers of time and memory. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. We explored secret letters, silent observers, mysterious lighthouses, and forgotten chambers. Remember the new words and phrases: patience, observation, reflection, insight, mysterious, chamber, lighthouse, secret, calm, gentle, immersive, and thoughtful. You are learning slowly, gently, and deeply while you rest. Sleep well, my friends, enjoy the calm, and I will see you next time. Good night.